I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, and how to build strong family bonds through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, I'm answering a question that has been posed to me, which is, how do you have consistency in parenting as a parent with ADHD? In this video, we're going to be talking about ADHD, some of the symptoms and what that does to parenting, and then what you can do to focus on and maintain consistency, even if you happen to be a parent with ADHD. ADHD presents different in every single person that has it, and so hopefully you're aware of what your hang-ups are, but I want to make sure that you understand that I understand ADHD. I've had multiple children live in my home who have had ADHD, and I was their therapeutic treatment care parent. There are family members and loved ones that I have that have ADHD as well. And it can be a struggle because sometimes when you process in a different way, people don't understand you. And I know that there are many parents with ADHD who worry that their children will misinterpret what they're doing, and they want to make sure that they hit the mark with the parenting with their children, even though they process in a way that can be a little bit more difficult for them to manage. When a person has ADHD, oftentimes they feel a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more emotionally excitable. They're fidgety sometimes. Sometimes they have a hard time focusing or thinking. They have a hard time following through with tasks and getting things done. Some people with ADHD start lots of stuff but hardly ever finish. And my guess is that the person who asked this question is probably concerned with that, because specifically they're mentioning consistency, although follow through is just one part of consistency. Another part of consistency is making sure that you maintain what it is that you planned to do. And I know there's nothing more frustrating as a parent than to create a plan for how you want to parent your child, and then for you to be the one that falls off the path. That the child maybe even sometimes does a better job than the parent at living according to the principles, say, of self-government. So let's talk about self-government. We're going to be looking through that lens today. I teach self-government all over the world, and the definition of self-government that I talk about in this book right here, Parenting a House United, is being able to determine the cause and effect of any given situation and possessing a knowledge of your own behaviors so that you can control them. So this doesn't mean that you're perfect. This just means that you are open and willing to analyze, make new plans, check up on yourself, and then follow through. So keeping that in mind, how does a person who has ADHD and processes just a little bit differently follow through with their parenting plan? Well, they do it with those same keys of self-government. So you analyze, what type of a parent do I want to be? What skills do I need to use? Which direction do I need to point the family? And how am I going to check up on that? So how am I going to make sure that I stay the course? So often people struggle with consistency, whether they have ADHD or not, simply because they don't schedule in any follow-up time. They don't ever check back to see how they're really doing with their desired plan. They also don't deliberately declare their plan to the other people around them, like their children and family members. It is a powerful thing to pre-teach your family and declare to your family that you are going to speak in a certain way, and that if you don't, they can correct you in a certain way. That's powerful. It's proactive, and that's self-government. And that's what's going to be required for helping you maintain consistency. All right, so knowing what you're going to say is important. How are you going to plan that? Where do you get the words to say? Right now, you are a creature of habit. You have certain words that come into your mind every time something happens. And this is whether you have ADHD or not, every person is like this. We are scripted. That's what people do. They script themselves and then they go to their scripts in the moment when they feel like they need them. So in the Teaching Self-Government program, I've got courses, books, and trainings, but I also have some little tips that are really helpful. So many people will go to the Teaching Self-Government Parenting course. We call it the TSG Parenting course. It's on my website, teachingselfgovernment.com, and they will get the course, and as part of the course package, they'll oftentimes get a set of cue cards and a choices map. So I want to just talk about these cue cards and the choices map quickly. So the cue cards, there is a set of cards that lists some cues for the skills that they are going to use, maybe how to do the correction, how to do the pre-teaching, how to do intensive teaching, the 4 basic skills, the calmness skill set. There's steps for all of these on the cards, and they remind you the things that you have learned in the course. Now, I just want to give you a warning. One of the cards in particular, you can't even really use unless you have had the training on how to do that intensive teaching, because you won't know what it means necessarily. So they are meant to accompany the training, but if you have been trained on how to do the Teaching Self-Government approach, then you can use these cards to help you remember in the minute what to say. This is going to help your consistency. And the chart will remind you when to use certain cards. It will also remind your child when you are going to say certain things in an interaction. That keeps everything predictable. If everything stays predictable in your interactions with your children, then your children's anxiety will go down and your anxiety level will go down. You'll be able to maintain more calmness, more connection as you're discussing with your children. And by the way, keeping to those steps that I teach in my TSG parenting course actually help you so that you don't have to say too many things, which sometimes, if you have ADHD, can throw you off course. Sometimes parents who have ADHD start talking about one thing and end up talking about all these other things, and then they wonder if they ever even really fully finish the original conversation. And they don't even get back to the full correction that they should have been doing. So it helps you stay your course as well, which is really important for all parents. But especially it's going to be beneficial if you have ADHD. Create a script for yourself. Now, whether you use my cards or whether you make your own cards and your own scripts, that's okay. The one thing I can promise you about the Teaching Self-Government cards and scripts and trainings, charts, books, courses, all the things, is that they are all principle-based. So often, when you have ADHD, you give in to that mighty amygdala in the middle of the brain, that emotional center, and you go back to fight or flight really fast. In order to stop yourself from doing that, you need to have new words to say on the inside and on the outside. And my courses and trainings give you the words. Not only that, but you can have coaching. When I started doing therapeutic treatment care for troubled teens, I had a consultant, a coach, someone who I could go to any time of day and tell her what was going on, and she would advise me based upon the principles that she knew that I was using. The reason why we had this was because the level of care that we were taking on was very high level care, very intense. We're talking maybe suicidal and, runaways and stuff like that. And so we had to have another person who could keep us grounded, occasionally. And truthfully, I didn't need her that often. After a while, I knew, okay, she would say this, Tamara would tell me this. So this is what I need to go and do. But if I ever wasn't quite sure what I should do in the moment because I got emotional, I would go to Tamara. Well, here's a cool thing. In the TSG parenting course, there's access to me and there's access to mentors. So I train people to teach what I teach, and they mentor these courses. So you do the coursework and then you get together for a mentor meeting with mentors, and they coach you along. You're not going to be able to call them in the middle of the night, but you can reach out to them at any time and you can set appointments with them, and you can have the coaching that you need to be successful. You might just need that little extra edge to help you be consistent, and all of that has been considered in the TSG parenting course. As well as cue cards, charts, coaches, there's also tally sheets that can be beneficial. So you may give yourself one target area you're working on. Maybe it's praise. And you say, this week, I'm going to keep track of how many times I praise each person each day. Those types of tally sheets will help you stay the course. And if you have a person to check in with. So if you're having meetings, maybe with a spouse, a good friend, someone that's going to help support you through this change in your parenting, then you also can show them your tally sheets, show them what you've been monitoring, so that then they can help you make plans going forward as well. One of the most important things that you can do for your consistency as a parent with ADHD is teach your children all of the skills. Teach them their skills and teach them your skills and how you will use them. When you teach the children the skills and the scripts and how you will do them, it holds you accountable. You tell them, these are the words I'm going to use. And then if you don't use them, you teach them, now you use the skill disagreeing appropriately with me if I don't use one of my skills that I told you I would do. And you disagree appropriately to remind me to go back to using my skills. So you let them pull you back into check by using the scripts. If everyone in the family has the same scripts and skills, they have the same understanding of self-government, then you can keep everybody in alignment. If you just know it and you try to use the skills on your children, you will not follow through. Other people have to know what you're doing. Otherwise, you will have a hard time staying focused. Sure, you're gonna have moments where you don't focus properly. Those are just times in your day where they happen. But guess what? Good news for you is it's just an interaction. It's just a moment. You can create a new moment that fixes that. I believe in redos. What's a redo? A redo is when you decide that you need to redo an interaction that you just did because it didn't go right. Maybe you didn't use your skills properly. Maybe your tone was not right. So then you say, you know what, that wasn't right. I'm going to redo it again. And you go to the child and say, you know what, Mom didn't do that quite right, so we're going to redo it, okay? And then you just redo it using the same words that you had planned to do before. You do it the right way. That's the one thing that people with ADHD don't like to do, but they have to embrace. Practice it the right way. When you do something the wrong way, you've got to have more experiences doing it the right way to switch it. So every time that you do something the wrong way, do it 3 times the right way, even if it's just fake role play practice. Practice, practice, practice. Boy, we could talk forever about even more things, meetings, role plays, SOTAs exercises, all of those things that are part of the TSG program will help you maintain your consistency as a parent that has ADHD. If this video has been helpful to you, there is a full-length class. Now don't stress, I know it's a little bit longer and it's hard to stay focused for that long, but this is relevant to you. It's a full-length class that will help you learn more of the nuts and bolts to self-government. If you're ready to get the TSG parenting course and just get going, then go to teachingselfgovernment.com and then get the course. But if you still need a little bit more information to base your opinion to see if this will really help you, then go to the full-length class called The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success next. And that's going to help you learn even more so that you can decide if you're ready for self-government at your house.